Bringing family together. That's what it's all about for so many of us. If you're hoping to have your parents come to Australia for a good long visit, the Subclass 870 visa is one of the main ways to do it. So today, we're going to break down the official government guide piece by piece to give you a really clear map of the whole journey. So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with what this parent visa is all about. Then we'll get into the super important groundwork you need to lay before you even touch an application. We'll go through the document checklist, walk through the application itself, and then cover what to expect after you've hit submit all the way to that final decision.
All right, first up, the sponsored parent visa. So what in the world is the Subclass 870 really? Let's get a crystal clear picture of what it is and who it's for.
Okay, so the Subclass 870 is built for those longer family stays. Now, the first thing you've got to understand is that it is not a pathway to permanent residency. But what it does do is let parents stay in Australia for a solid 3 or even 5 years straight. And the big advantage? No more flying in and out. It's designed for real quality time with the family.
Okay, let's talk about the groundwork. And honestly, this part is so important. Before you even think about filling out the application form, there are a few things that absolutely have to be sorted out first. So I've got a question for you. What do you think is the one single thing you absolutely cannot move forward without? The whole thing really does hang on this next point.
And that's the one. You absolutely must have an approved parent sponsor. That's your child, the one who's an Australian citizen, a permanent resident, or an eligible New Zealander. Their sponsorship has to be approved first. There's just no way around it.
All right, deep breath time. We're diving into the paperwork, which, let's be honest, can feel like the toughest part of any visa process. Let's break down exactly what you'll need to get everything in perfect shape.
But before we even get to the list, let me be perfectly clear about this. The Department of Home Affairs is not messing around when it comes to accuracy. Any wrong information, even if it's an honest mistake, can have really serious consequences. We're talking a visa refusal and maybe even a 10-year ban from applying for other visas. So the takeaway here is simple. Check and then double-check everything.
First on the list, your identity documents. You'll see the basics here: passport, national ID, the usual suspects. The key is making sure your name is consistent on everything. If it's not, you'll need proof of why, like a marriage certificate. What they're really looking for is a crystal clear paper trail that proves who you are.
All right, let's move on to the character and health checks, which Australia takes very, very seriously. You're going to need police certificates from every country you've lived in for a year or more over the last decade. And then there's Form 80. That's a pretty detailed history of your life, so set aside some real time for that. One big tip: for the health exams, just wait. Don't do anything until you get the specific instructions in your IMI account. Now, this is a detail you absolutely have to get right. When it comes to the Australian police check, it has to be a complete disclosure certificate, and it has to come from the Australian Federal Police, the AFP. A standard check or one from a state police force just won't cut it. This is a super common mistake, so make sure you get the right one. All right, so you've got all your documents. Now what? Here are 3 super practical steps. 1. Anything not in English needs to be professionally translated. 2. All your scans have to be in color and perfectly clear. A blurry photo can cause annoying delays. And here's a pro tip: for things like your passport, combine all the pages into one single file. It just makes everything cleaner for the person reviewing your application. Okay, Section 4, the application process. You've done all the prep, you've got your stack of documents ready, now it's time to actually submit the thing. Let's see how it works. Okay, pay very close attention here, because this is where things can get tricky. Look at the difference. If you're applying from outside Australia, you get a pretty decent 6-month window after the sponsorship is approved. But, and this is a big but, if you're already in Australia, that window shrinks down to just 60 days. Missing that deadline is not an option, so you've got to be on top of it.
It's all done online through your IMI account, and it's pretty straightforward, really. You'll either log in or create a new account, fill out the application form, and then upload all those documents you so carefully prepared. The last step in this stage is paying that first application fee. And just so you know, your application isn't officially submitted until that payment goes through.
Okay, so you've hit submit. Now what? This part, the waiting, can be the hardest. But the government guide gives some really clear do's and don'ts for what to do while your application is being processed. I'm going to read this next part word for word, because it is that important. This is straight from the department. Do not arrange to travel to Australia until we let you know, in writing, that we have granted you the visa. Seriously, Don't book flights, don't make any firm plans until you have that grant notice in your hand. You've got to think of your application as a living thing, not something you just file and forget. If you realize you made a mistake, there's a form for that. Form 1023. If something in your life changes, like you get a new passport or move to a new address, you have to tell the department right away. It's your job to keep them updated, and it'll help your application move along smoothly.
Just a heads up, there's one more payment to think about. Before they can make the final decision on your visa, you'll get an invoice for a second, much larger fee. Don't worry, they'll let you know when it's time to pay. But it is a mandatory step before the visa can be granted.
And here we are, the home stretch. We've made it to the final step in the process, the visa decision itself. Let's look at what you can expect when that notification finally arrives.
So, it all comes down to one of two things. If it's granted, fantastic. You'll get a formal letter with your visa grant number, the date it starts, and any conditions you need to follow. If it's refused, you'll also get a letter explaining exactly why, and it'll tell you if you have the right to a review. Just remember, either way, the application fees are non-refundable.
So we've walked through the whole roadmap, from getting that first sponsorship to the final decision. It's a journey that definitely requires attention to detail and a whole lot of patience. But the real question isn't just about the paperwork. It's about what this all means for your family. Getting a 3- or 5-year visa is a huge deal, and being fully prepared is the best first step you can take.